What's up, everyone? This is the Next Tape podcast with Mikel and
And Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So it's just another day, another episode.
Yep.
Is that right, Tanyka?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So what are we talking about in today's episode?
So today we're going to be talking space. And we're going to also be talking about Salmonella cases being linked to geckos, particularly in Ontario. And we're also going to be talking about Doug Ford rejecting the Bill of Rights and protection funds for tenants. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
Space. Yeah, it's something that'll happen up in space right now. There's been a lot of stuff happening in space these days, but apparently there's kind of this like strange spiral, and I believe so. I think actually this is in Comet 12P Pons Brooks, which I believe is the Devil Comet that we did talk about in a previous episode. Is still doing its thing, even though now we can't see it. It's now somewhere in space, who knows? And it's now kind of changing its look a little bit. So it now has this strange spiral in its icy kind of heart of it all with it. And it's kind of telling the comet's kind of like innards at this point. I guess it's starting to kind of die off, and I'm pretty sure it's a Devil Comet. I might be wrong because they name the comets kind of strange things, but just based on what I can see in the name, it does sound like it's the Devil Comet. But apparently it's kind of become this kind of shapeshifter now. So we kind of, in the summer of 2023, it's kind of sported these wings like the Millennium Falcon, which if anyone's Star Wars fans, you kind of have a better idea of what that looks like than me. But
well, I'm not too much of a Star Wars fan.
I'm not either. Like, I know the basics.
Well, I know there's a couple series like the Mandalorian and all that stuff, but otherwise than that, yeah, I'm not a full-fledged Star Wars fan.
No, I'm not. I know certain characters and stuff like that, but I get like the general gist of Darth Vader being Luke's dad and stuff like that. Like, I know that, but like
the general, basically,
that's about as far as it goes for me. So yes, and then we by the autumn, as we know, was dubbed the Devil Comet because of the horned appearance, which we did talk about in a previous episode. But now it kind of is appearing more of this kind of what they call a perfect spiral, and it's kind of saying that has like this particular ice ball now, which is one of the brightest comets on record now, which I'm pretty sure they said that before as well, when it still had like the devil comets, which I guess the devil horns, which I guess it doesn't have anymore, so we can't really call it the Devil Comet anymore, but just for the ease of it, that's what we're calling it. So it is still kind of tricky to observe and photograph though, and the comet is trekking toward its closest approach to the sun currently, which was, I believe, set not long after it would have passed Earth. So either it's collided with the sun or it's still on its route. I don't know currently. Maybe we can figure that out for an update later. But either it's been blown up by the sun or it's still doing something. So that's kind of where it's kind of headed. But apparently, I think it's a scientist by the name of Jan Erik Balestad said that, quote, "I didn't have any high expectations at all because when I started the sessions days ago, you could still see the sunlight on the horizon. So they thought that they maybe could have gotten a picture of it, but it was too fuzzy, so they didn't." And
was this is it NASA or
NASA?
NASA. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, NASA. It's all
I'm not
right.
sure if they're with NASA or not, but it
Mm-hmm.
just says that they are a saw here astrophotographer. Didn't know that
Mm-hmm.
existed, but that's what they are. Yep.
No, no, yeah, I never. I thought like NASA was the only astronauts that.
Mm,
Okay, so there's others. I mean,
of
like
course. Yeah,
Elon Musk's SpaceX.
and other countries and everything as well, right? It's NASA is in
Okay.
Texas. So
All
no,
right.
no, NASA is not the only one. It's the most known, but it's not the only one. So I believe on March 9th, they kind of captured more of something that looked like more like a blob. And you can kind of see the wispy tail streaking across the sky, but also a spiral feature that he was able to highlight in editing. So it's due to editing is where you can kind of see that more.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's kind of more he's moving so quick, I guess, this comet that it's kind of hard to take a picture of it. So it's kind of bad. Let's see what else we have here. So yeah, they say the spiral is far from unprecedented. This kind of thing has happened before. They say astronomers have begun noticing that the hearts of certain comets contained a spiral as early as 1858.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and its explanation is surprisingly simple. They say, quote, "We know that comets release gas and dust into space, and the
Mm-hmm.
nucleus is also rotating just like any celestial object." So basically what happens is that they shed gas and dust. It becomes kind of this coma, which I don't think coma in the sense that we know, which reflects sunlight and gives a comet's core and characteristic blurry appearance. So when different parts of the comet's surface lose material at different rates, the coma can become uneven. And because the comet's nucleus is spinning, the brighter and fainter parts of the coma twist into that spiral look. It's kind of fascinating. So that formation story means the spiral isn't just pretty. Scientists can work back in time, starting from the visual pattern to learn more about the comet. They say, quote, "We can use spiral features like this to try to get a sense of how fast and in what direction the nucleus is actually rotating." It tells us a whole lot about the comet itself, which is pretty amazing, which I agree. So the other thing that I found that's kind of cool is black holes. Now, black holes can be kind of scary, but if you don't want, go ahead.
Is there a myth that black holes, you know, do like suck up like a lot of the?
That's not a myth.
It's a fact.
It's a fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
I thought it was like.
certain black holes are stronger than others, but yes, that's not a myth. That's very factual.
Interesting.
Which is why black holes can be scary.
I thought it was like story made up or
No, yeah, no. I mean, obviously we haven't been sucked up by a black hole, but it can suck things up in space. Yeah, that's why black holes are so scary. And then like the term supermassive black hole, like I always say, it's not just a song you hear in Twilight, it's a real thing. And that's scary, like if you think about it too hard. But yeah, if you do have any fear of the unknown in space and stuff like this, like I do talk about double comet obviously, and comets can be dangerous for people on Earth as well, because those things can land on Earth. But double comet seemed pretty safe for the most part because it wasn't making a direct path to Earth, kind of like that. It was more passing by.
Right.
So black holes can be a little bit more touchy. So if you need to take a minute from that, you can just skip ahead to the next topic. But so it looks like astronomers have spotted the first known instance of a black hole, quote unquote, hiccup from a distant cosmic behemoth. The cosmic belches suggest the swirling disks of matter and gas that surround black holes may be home to bigger cosmic objects than previously thought. So the monster black hole, which weighs the equivalent of about 50 million suns and lives in the heart of and lives in the heart of a galaxy 800 million light years from Earth, so it's very far, is ejecting hunks of gas into space once every 8.5 days before going quiet again. These quote-unquote hiccups come from the black hole's accretion disk, which is a ring of superheated gas that swirls around the object. So a new study, which was published on March 27th in the journal Science Advances, suggests this material is being belched out thanks to a second smaller black hole that is actually swooshing in and out in a tilted orbit. So it's kind of like a black hole instead of a black hole, basically. Kicking up gas like a fast-flying bee buzzing through a cloud of pollen. So that's kind of what's happening. These hiccups, quote, were a total surprise, study lead author Diraj Pazham, I believe is how you say his name, who is a research scientist with the Kavli Institute of Astrophysics and Space Research in Massachusetts. He went on to say, quote, "We kept scratching our heads for months until theorists in the Czech Republic came in and provided an explanation of a secondary black hole, which appears to explain all of the properties of this system." The results suggest that the accretion disks around black holes may be home to a surprising array of cosmic objects, including other black holes and stars. They said, quote, "We thought we knew a lot about black holes, but this is telling us there are a lot more things that they can do." Quote, "If our model of a companion repeatedly punching through the accretion disk is right, then these hiccups can unveil a whole population of such extreme binaries." The researchers suspect that the immense gravity of the supermassive black hole will someday swallow its companion black hole in a merger, perhaps more than 10,000 years in the future. Saying, quote, "Because the smaller black hole weighs substantially less than the main black hole, the merger timescale is long." So that's basically it on space. I thought that was quite fascinating. Because I mean, usually, like, I don't really like discussing black holes myself, just because, like, they are so, they're very unpredictable things. But because this particular black hole is so far away from Earth, and this kind of is like, there's like a whole black hole inside of a super massive black hole, pretty fascinating. So I was like, did a supermassive black hole swallow a black hole? Like, this is so cool. But yeah, that's basically that on space.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I find it fascinating, interesting.
Yeah.
I do think, like, has, like, wait. Has a black hole ever, like, happened in the history of, like, being on Earth? Like, I'm not saying
I would say if whether a black hole or a supermassive black hole were to swallow up Earth, we wouldn't be here. So the answer to that would be no. That hasn't happened. But clearly they exist and they are swallowing other things. So yeah. And where they kind of come from, I think, is also part of that research. Like, what makes a black hole a black hole? Can they just appear anywhere? So yeah.
Interesting.
So let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be talking about geckos and Salmonella. So let's go to that. So Ontario has 18 confirmed cases, and potentially growing, of Salmonella infections linked to exposure to geckos. And this was said by the Federal Public Health Agency in a notice issued probably at this point a few months back. The Public Health Agency of Canada said it was investigating an outbreak of Salmonella lomi, I think is how you say it, illness after 35 cases have been reported in 7 provinces so far at the time of this article. Based on investigation findings to date, exposure to geckos has been identified as a likely source of the outbreak, Many of the individuals who became sick reported having direct or indirect contact with geckos or the environments where these pets are kept before their illnesses occurred. Really interesting. Ontario has the most cases currently, followed by Quebec with 8. British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba each have 2 cases, while New Brunswick has reported 1, again at the time of this article. PHAC, which is the health thing, said the individuals became sick between March 2020 and January 2024, and 5 of them have been hospitalized. No deaths have been reported in relation to the outbreak, so that's at least a good thing. Of the cases, 7 are children, 5 years of age or younger. So that's also very interesting. Using a laboratory method called whole genome sequencing, it was determined that some Salmonella illnesses dating back to 2020 were caused by the same outbreak strain as the illnesses that occurred in 2024, and this was said by the agency. PHAC noted that some of the people who have been infected did not touch or handle the geckos, but lived in the same residence where they were kept. So that kind of lends to more of an airborne situation, maybe, or maybe it's like one, but again, if one person's touching the gecko and then it's touching the other person who got infected, then how are they not infected? So I guess, I mean, that can happen where someone can be a carrier or something, but it's kind of like, then wouldn't you also then be affected? So is this more of an airborne thing? Like it's very weird, but
right.
Salmonella with the same outbreak strain was found in a gecko habitat from the home of an ill individual, again said by the health agency. These outbreaks highlight the important role that reptile owners and business operators can play in preventing new illnesses linked to these types of pets. According to PHAC, most reptiles carry Salmonella naturally in their intestinal guts. That's good to know, where it lives without making them sick. That's why it says reptiles could pass the bacteria from their droppings into their environments, contaminating their bodies, enclosures, and wherever they roam.
So this is contagious and everything. You would say it's contagious.
Well, it's contagious in the sense of because it's in their poop, and if you're handling that, again, I'm not a reptile owner, but I have a bird, so if you need to clean up after their poop because they'll just poop anywhere, especially my bird, I don't know about anybody else, then you're handling their poop. I mean, hopefully not skin contact to the poop, that would be gross, but you could be handling the poop, maybe not washing your hands afterwards and touching orifices. It's like, just like with COVID, you were told not to touch your eyes or your mouth without washing your hands. Kind of the same thing. Don't handle, an animal's poop. Even if you're not directly touching it, wash your hands. So that's the thing. Like, again, I don't think a bird carries illnesses in the same sense as a gecko does or any other reptile, but still, like, if you are a reptile owner, definitely do your research on them, see what diseases they carry that would be harmful to humans but maybe not necessarily harmful to them, Salmonella being one of those things, especially with geckos, because I never knew that geckos naturally carry Salmonella. I would never think, but
that's in like eggs and everything. That, if I believe.
I don't know if Salmonella. I mean, I'm sure there's potential that it's in chicken, poultry to be. So that's why, like, you have to cook your poultry completely. Otherwise, yes, you get Salmonella poisoning from that. Or so that I knew. Like, I knew they live in like poultry, chicken, turkey, that kind of thing. But I didn't know. Well, not all meats. I don't know if it's in like beef or pork and stuff like that, but chicken, poultry, for sure I do know. But Salmonella, I'm not sure if it's in other meats.
Okay.
Maybe there it is. Don't quote me on that, but I know for 100% poultry is the one. Right.
Okay.
but I didn't know it naturally lived in the geckos. I wouldn't and not be harmful to them. I had no clue. That's crazy. But anyways, so according to though I said that already. PHC said symptoms usually start 6 to 72 hours after exposure and could last 4 to 7 days.
Wow.
They include fever, chills, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, and abdominal cramps. So they kind of mirror kind of what food poisoning can kind of give you, or a really bad case of the flu can kind of give you. Hell, even COVID can mirror some of these symptoms I just mentioned too. So it's kind of like you maybe not necessarily thinking it's your salmonella poisoning, but it's like something, it's something else. Not necessarily that, but I guess more so if you own reptiles and you are experiencing these things, especially after handling their droppings, then definitely look into that. So they say while most cases will fully recover after a few days without treatment, the agency warned that it can also lead to severe illness and hospitalization. So just be mindful of that if you do own geckos. People who are infected with salmonella bacteria can spread salmonella to other people several days to several weeks after they have become infected. So even if you're starting to feel better, you potentially are still carrying it in your body. Right. Even if they don't have symptoms, like I just said. The agency said, adding that the bacteria can spread by person-to-person contact and through contact with contaminated surfaces. So again, very similar with like COVID. If like you're infected and you touch a surface and then the person touches the surface after you, that's how it happens, right? So again, if you've been ill, making sure you're not in close contact with somebody who has experienced this, and that's everything. Kind of have to keep to yourself even if you're feeling better, because you're still a carrier of it. So earlier in like that week, in the sense of this article, so let's call it a few months ago, PHC also issued a public health notice about a salmonella outbreak connected to snakes and feeder rodents. So it's not just geckos or lizards in general, it's most reptiles and also rodents. Feeder rodents, which I'm assuming means rodents that are being fed to said reptiles.
So like, rodents as in like rats,
mice,
cockroaches.
Cockroaches are in rodents.
I'm just playing.
No, cockroaches are not rodents. Some like pets, whether guinea pigs or something like that, are a part of the rodent family as well.
Right.
So
raccoons? No.
As of March 19th, 70 confirmed cases of Salmonella typhoid. It's not typhoid, but that's the easiest thing I can think of how to say this word right now. Illnesses have been reported, with 32 of them in Ontario. The individuals became sick between February 2022 and February 2024, so 2-year span. PHC said 10 had been hospitalized and 1 person had been confirmed to have actually died because of salmonella. So it's actually very interesting that didn't I just read earlier that no one had died, but actually someone did. So someone actually had died.
Not a lot of people die from salmonella, do they? Or is it like
you can?
You can't. Okay.
Yeah, you can.
It has to be severe, or does it like
I don't really know how severe it has to be poisoned by someone. Like I really don't know. I don't know if it's different if you've eaten raw meat, raw chicken, poultry, and contracted it that way, if it presents itself differently, if it's something you can't come back from, versus a situation like this where it's like you're not eating the food, right? You're it's contact of something. And so I don't know how that works, but a single common supplier of snakes or feeder rodents has not been identified yet to kind of figure out where the source of this is. I don't know if salmonella is natural in snakes. I don't know if they're natural in rodents. So that's, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to figure out if this is intentional or if they're trying to stop them from, like, I don't know. Just because it looks like they're trying to find where the source is interesting. The outbreak is a reminder that salmonella bacteria can be found in many species of animals, including snakes and feeder rodents. And this was said by PHC. So salmonella bacteria can spread salmonella to other people. I read that already. Sorry, I'm way ahead. Sorry, read that already.
So basically, you know how common salmonella deaths are. So salmonella is one of the most common forms of food poisoning. Over 1 million people in the U.S. alone get salmonella every year, and 26,500 are hospitalized. There are about 420 deaths due to salmonella every year in the U.S.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's from the clevelandclinic.org. So that is crazy that happens like every single year. I thought it was just like, you know, like one certain percentage, like a lower percentage, but like it's pretty common.
Yeah, it's more common than we think.
Yeah.
But here are some tips from the federal agency on how to prevent direct or indirect spread of salmonella. So always wash your hands immediately after touching a reptile and anything they eat, or after being in the area where they live, play, or have touched surfaces or objects. If visiting an exhibit or event with reptiles, wash your hands when you leave animal areas, even if you do not touch the animals directly. Clean any surfaces or objects your reptile touches with soapy water, followed by a household sanitizer. Never kiss a pet reptile. Do not keep reptiles in homes, daycare centers, schools, or other facilities with children aged 5 years and under. Right. Always supervise children when they touch or play with reptiles. Do not let them put reptiles or their supplies near their face or share their food or drinks with pets. Make sure they thoroughly wash their hands after touching reptiles. Children 5 years and under should not handle the reptiles. Keep reptiles in all their food containers, enclosures, and any objects that have been in their enclosures, such as plants or enrichment items, away from the kitchen and other places where food is made or eaten. Where possible, clean enclosures and accessories outside of the home. If this is not possible, use a laundry sink or bathtub and thoroughly clean and sanitize afterwards. Clean or bathe reptiles in a dedicated plastic bin, not in the kitchen or bathroom sink. Be aware of your reptile's specific needs. Stress can increase a reptile's shedding of salmonella. Always keep reptiles in habitats that are designed for them. If you choose to have a reptile, talk to your healthcare provider or veterinarian about the right reptile for your family, especially if your family includes children 5 years and younger, pregnant people, immunocompromised individuals, or adults 65 years of age and over. So that's what they suggest.
Yeah, they're most vulnerable.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have like, you know, weakened immune systems. So yeah.
Geckos are very cute, but clearly geckos can be, you have to be very cautious with them.
Yeah. It's not like that commercial you see on TV.
No, but they are very cute though. They are very cute. I have never owned a gecko, but I have. I remember being at the pet store back in the day when PJ Pets was still in Pickering Town Center with a friend of mine, and we saw a gecko look like he was literally dancing, and his enclosure was the cutest thing. But yeah, just be careful.
But so salmonella does happen in raw eggs too. So I was right. Okay.
I guess that's why I said I'm pretty. I mean, they would make sense because
Okay.
they come from chickens, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat raw eggs
Mm-hmm.
at all. But I
Right.
know your dumbass has definitely drank raw eggs before, so it's amazing you're still alive.
What do you mean,
I
raw? What?
remember you drank raw eggs.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
right.
disgusting.
Yeah, yeah, because it was
It was
like, I put
disgusting.
that's what that's what boxers used to do. Like you
Yeah,
put
and
raw
you're
eggs.
probably gonna die.
No, 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 you don't. It's a nutrition meal, in my opinion,
You just
isn't
said
it?
there's salmonella in eggs,
I know
in raw
there's
eggs.
salmon, but like,
So what's more important, not
um,
being poisoned by salmonella or
I could.
proving a point or something? It's the weirdest thing. I don't
So why
understand.
did so?
You can
Here's my
cook an egg and
understanding.
still have the same benefits. Eggs are good for you, whether they're cooked or raw.
Yeah,
So,
like here's how I understand. It's it's a health benefit, but yet it has
because
salmonella
it's
in it.
not a health benefit, because it's
See,
not. We did have raw egg, clearly. I just don't understand. You can literally cook an egg, and if it's about, not cooked, like if you want a scrambled egg or something, and you don't want to use butter or margarine or whatever. I literally cooked eggs with avocado oil, which is a lot better for you than anything else, or even just using vegetable oil or whatever. You, there are ways you can cook an egg and it still be kept healthy. So you don't need to have raw eggs. It's so gross.
okay. Well, I just drink it as I used to drink it as it is. Like I just drank
I
it one
know,
time,
I know.
and then I was like, is this good or is this
It's
good
gross.
for you?
And again, like boxers, I mean, I don't know the benefit of doing that. Like it
Yeah,
kind of makes sense if depending on what the benefit is. I don't know why you were doing it.
'cause I thought it was healthy. I thought it was
No, it's
like good
not.
for you because like
No.
if boxers were doing it as a health benefit,
Yeah, but
then now you know what? I'll give it a try. Cause like
yeah, no.
wait, Rocky.
That's
It's
just
like
are you kidding? Rocky's not real. First of all, listen, just because this is a prime example of just because you see it on the internet or whatever the fuck
yeah, yeah, yeah,
doesn't mean it's good for you or that it's true. Like, geez. Anyways, that's
yeah.
too much.
That was in the past, so basically, it is what it is. Whatever happened in the past happened in the past. It only happened one time, so
It was just that one time.
yeah, it was
You
just
did
one
it to
time.
torture me.
I don't think
Okay.
I ever tried it like numerous of times. No.
Okay, so he
Uh,
just did the one time to torture me, everybody. Let's continue.
yeah. But,
So moving on to Mr. Ford. So Premier Doug Ford is going along with the Quebec government in rejecting Ottawa's attempt to help renters. Sounds great, huh? On Wednesday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gave a budget preview, which included, well, this was actually not on Wednesday, it was a couple months ago, which gave a preview, which included a Bill of Rights and Protection Funds for tenants. Premier Ford, however, described it as a form of, quote, creeping into jurisdictional matters by the federal government, and Ottawa will need the provinces and territories to sign off on the proposed plan. So why wouldn't you? Let's continue. There are questions about whether this will help or hurt renters in the long term. Saying, quote, I think it was Prime Minister Trudeau said this, quote, there are renters of all ages across this country, and these protections and opportunities will be there for every one of you. This is just one of the things that we are going to be doing in this upcoming budget. Trudeau announced a plan to help renters stave off eviction and build equity in Vancouver. Again, this would have been a couple months ago. Ottawa's Renter Bill of Rights includes a national standard for leases, negotiation on prices, and legal aid to fight renovictions. The Trudeau administration is proposing to put renters in the position to own a home in the future by allowing rental payments to be used in their credit score. I think that's incredible. Why
That's
does he
been
do it?
it's been well, it's been a prototype with bro, what's the credit bureau? Wow. Try that 'cause I know that for a fact because like I have the app myself and they do the same thing. So every time you hand in your rent, you have to report it to Borrowers Law and they put it in your credit. So I'm guessing that was kind of the prototype, and then I don't know if they're having
But is
responsibility.
that something that's connected to the credit union that everyone is a part of in this country, which would be, I think, is Canada Bonic Credits. I think is, I should know, because my mom worked for them. But yeah, whatever the name of them is again, I can't remember now. And this is horrible of me, but
I think they start like they're from Canada, but I think they started.
But they're kind of their own company, is what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
This is not what they're saying. This is something that's supposed to help the credit score, which would be a part of everyone, like whatever. So when you apply for a credit card, they are going and retrieving your credit score, the credit union that everyone in this country is a part of.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this is totally different than what you were describing.
I mean, it's similar because like it's basically
similar, yes, but it's an individual company that's not really, unless they are connected to the credit union.
I think they
it's
are.
Not that beneficial.
I think they are connected to the credit because Borrowers Law and Credit Karma are. I think they are connected because they wouldn't have your official credit score if they're not connected to.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, that's true. But those kinds of companies, that's not what they're saying here. You don't need to be a part of a company like Credit Karma or other companies for rent to be beneficial to your credit score. That's what I'm gathering from what they just said. So that's why I said it is different.
Isn't that what Trudeau's doing? Like, this will benefit.
That's what they want to do. Yes, I just said that. It's what they want to do. It's something that is a part of now the federal idea.
Okay.
But the problem is that each province has to agree to be a part of it. And our premier does not want to be a part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because
it would be amazing.
So it's not really official yet, but like there's
it's not so much about it's official yet. Kind of, we've had this conversation actually about the other things not involving Canada, but a federal thing is the starting point in a sense. Then the other provinces in this case have to then say, okay, this is something that is now provided to us, but we have to agree to be a part of it. Unless the province is agreeing to be a part of it, we're not a part of it. You see what I mean? The federal government starts the thing, and then we have to be a part of it.
So why is certain companies, like certain like credit bureau companies,
you need to get off of the companies because the companies are not a part of the federal government. This is they're not the federal government.
Right.
So don't worry about the companies. That's not exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at rent. Think of rent as paying your monthly credit card fees or whatever you're owed on a credit card that month. Think of it the same way. When you pay your bills, right, that affects your credit score, whether for the good or for the bad. Same thing with the rent is what they're trying to do with the rent as well. Rent is a bill. So if you're paying your rent on time and you're paying the full amount on time, that should be going towards, I'm paying my bills, and that should be reflected on the credit score. And that is what Justin Trudeau is now proposing, but Doug Ford does not want to be a part of that. And whatever else is a part of this program for renters, which I don't get.
Okay. Well, I want to move on from the company, but like I'm going, but like Ford, Why is Ford feel like, it's he disagrees from, because this is a good idea in my opinion.
I agree.
It still doesn't improve the housing crisis, but it
No,
improves
but it's
like,
a step in the right
the
direction
yeah.
because what I think Trudeau is trying to get here is buying homes in this day and age is difficult. With,
Hmm.
without everything that's involved in buying a home, whether that's the down payment is not just 10 or 13% anymore, and you're
Right.
looking at homes that are over $1 million, and it's impossible for I can never imagine buying my own home under those circumstances. And then if you add the fact that you need to have good credit, that's also a part of, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm one of those people. I don't have bad credit, but I don't have good credit either.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's this is something that if you are a renter, which, you're putting money into rent where you could be putting that amount into your own home. Mortgages aren't the issue, right? It's everything else. And if you're paying your rent, your credit score being improved based on that is one step in the right direction to owning your own home. And Doug Ford is basically wanting to stop that from happening for people who live in Ontario, us being one of those people. So that's it,
Hmm.
it's kind of frustrating to hear that. Why does he want to do that? I don't know, but let's see if we get the answer in the
Is
rest of the
there?
article.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
that's all I hear.
so the news drew mixed reactions from some tenants in Hamilton. One of the tenants said, quote, "I really do think that would be an advantage for myself. I really do see that contributing to my credit score. I think that would be great towards buying a house one day, just as I just said." Another Hamilton resident said they appreciate the government's effort to help renters out by developing a policy for it, but they also know it is a complicated portfolio. And again, I totally get that, but this is a start of something. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it needs improvements, then we'll make or they should make improvements. But I don't see the harm in any of this so far. But let's continue. Concerns and questions range from the risk of a bad credit rating and a busy housing market. Peter Graffi, I think so you say his name, is a political scientist from McMaster University, said the changes could be useful, but it's likely to increase the pressure on prices of homes because you don't want all of these people chasing the same number of houses.
Mm-hmm.
So, why wouldn't you want that? Well, anyway, at least the seller. Why wouldn't the seller want that? I mean, obviously, for the buyer, it's going to be difficult, but
Mm-hmm.
why not? What's the harm in that? Yes, I know that it can increase, if you're now starting to look at people asking or offering over asking. I totally get all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we, especially as millennials right now, are finding it very difficult to find homes that they can afford for whatever reason.
Yeah,
And
that
go ahead.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's difficult to find homes that are affordable
affordable.
at this moment,
Yeah.
including, even Gen Zs. And
Yeah, and I mean, like with Gen Zs, I mean, they're if anything, Gen Zs are doing better than us, and I actually fully believe that the Gen Zs are probably doing a lot better than us.
yeah, because they're at the time, like they have more resources, right, than us, millennials.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, during the well,
They have the same resources, but I think how they go through life is very different than
hmm
millennials, and they do seem to do a lot better for themselves. Whether, like again, I have a coworker that is I don't know if he's actually a millennial or a Gen Z,
How
but
old is he?
I he's younger than me, but I can't remember. I know
If
he's still in his 20s, but it's it's like once you're kind of like 26, 27 is kind of the cutoff.
it's in that gray area
Yeah, because I don't know
because
exactly.
the 27-year-olds are millennials still,
They're
but
still millennials, but they kind of refer to themselves as like zillennials, right?
post whatever.
What?
Is it post millennials? That's what they call post.
No, no, the zillennials is the term that they use.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, he was able to buy it's a condo, but he was able to buy a home. That's and again, he's a lawyer, so it's there. His salary is much different than mine, but that just goes to show, nonetheless, is like they're able to kind of get ahead and get there a little easier than millennials are. Again, I'm roughly trying to remember. I know he's still in his 20s, but
Mhm.
he could be a late millennial. But it's just they have better whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but they're doing better than us. And like I can never picture. Of course, you want to be able to picture yourself buying a home one day, but I just don't know when that's ever going to happen. If it's ever going to happen, just based on everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And Gen Zs
Yeah.
get like, even like, let me put this in perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
have student loan debt. I'm probably somewhere in the 10,000 range now at this point with my student loan debt, or maybe somewhere in the 9,000. I don't even know, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have the advantage of not paying for tuition. Whereas my brother, now he has different reasons for why he doesn't have any student loan debts barely to pay off. He's
Mm-hmm.
very lucky. However, there are people out there, if you have a collective household income under a certain amount, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to pay for your tuition. You're good. I didn't have that. That came around after I graduated college. So
Yeah.
it's like right after. That was the frustrating part. It probably came into effect like 2013, 2014. I graduated in 2012. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
frustrating part. But it was,
So was that some type of bill that passed, or was the
I
government, or
don't
was
know the
that like
details. I never looked into it. I didn't really
probably that's why?
care to look into it really at the time. But it probably was like these things don't happen unless something has been passed. But yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that coming about, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Where is that for me?
Well, during those times where what we had as millennials, we had Stephen Harper during the time, so he
Yeah,
didn't really. I'm guessing the bill was passing during his time, but it probably took a while for it to just pass.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
my
It always takes a while.
yeah. So
But it would. I believe it still would have been passed before Trudeau came into power, anyways.
yeah.
It was definitely before.
So yeah,
So
probably it was, there's probably, like I said, there's probably a lot of bills that, that haven't been passed. They're just like in
mhm. Yeah, it takes
process
a
right now.
while. It takes a while. Yeah. So, where was I? So, yeah, Prime Minister Trudeau should be doing the things that he can do and not do the things he can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is why I think it's a political stunt, and this is said by the same graphic guy. The plan is meeting pushback after the Quebec government said it encroaches into provincial territory. On Thursday, well, a couple months ago, Premier Doug Ford also agreed. Of course, he did. He
Mm-hmm.
says, quote, we call it jurisdictional creep. And I know when you do that to cities, they lose their mind, and rightfully so. Focus on the responsibilities, and we'll focus on ours, and we'll support the municipalities. You're not supporting us, Doug Ford. I'm telling you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the latest in what's been an ongoing political battle between Ottawa and the provinces following Trudeau's letter to premiers over their lack of ideas on carbon pricing. Political analyst Keith Leslie says, quote, if they expect to strike deals with the provinces, this is not the way to go about it. Announcing a renter's bill of rights when clearly it's up to the provinces to look after housing. See, I understand then if this is more of a provincial thing, but why can't the federal government do something that the provinces can then sign up to do or not do or whatever? But why I just don't understand. This is something that was just never a thing before, or you wouldn't just sign up for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I get it, but I don't get this pushback either, because you're not affecting Doug Ford. You're a homeowner. This doesn't affect you. Think about the people who are not homeowners. You're not thinking about those people. You're thinking about yourself. And you're pissing contests. So Ottawa's plan will require some signatures from the provinces, which includes requiring landlords to disclose a history unit pricing, I think is what this says. It's kind of blocked by something, sorry. But that's basically what that entails. But that's basically it for the article. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating to know that like he doesn't want to be a part of this because he thinks it's not the federal government's job to intervene when it comes to renters.
Yeah, it happens. Sure, there's each province have a different reason why they don't want this to happen. I just think it's a great idea. It has, like I said earlier on to the topic, it's been done from a couple companies. Hopefully it can be official with the like you said, the provincial. Doubt it, because we're hearing a lot of leaders in the province disagree on this. So sad. It could help a lot of Canadians in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the other provinces, but definitely Ottawa and obviously Ontario.
Yeah.
Not Ottawa, sorry, Quebec and Ontario are the ones that are rushing back.
So yeah. Well, the only thing that you know that Justin Trudeau kind of opened to was like the first house savings account. If you heard about it, it's like basically you had to invest like $40,000, $8,000 every single year. So when it hits $40,000, it will transfer to your RSP after I believe 15 years if you don't use it at all. So that was made in the budget last year's budget. 2023 budget? Yeah, 2023 Canadian budget. And that was a good idea, but still doesn't really help, we call it, the housing crisis. But this will also would help a little bit, but not completely, with the rent.
No, obviously not, but that's what I did say before, is it's a step in the right direction. Every little bit helps, right? Yeah. So it's a step in the right direction, but if our premier is not going to want to be a part of this, then Ontarians are not going to benefit this. And again, like when it comes to credit scores and stuff like that, I'm imagining, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm imagining the company, or whatever company is called now, which I believe is Canada Credit, but I know something else. It's bugging me now because, again, like I said, my mom worked for them many years ago, but I believe that would be federal. So unless the federal government implemented this was something that would never have been possible when it came to the credit scores. And without that, like, it would never have happened. So but again, it's frustrating because, like, unless Ontario is part of it, we're not going to reap the benefits of that. So
yeah, hopefully it will happen official and with the province. So
Yeah.
but I have my doubts.
Me too. Me too. But yeah, that's
Okay.
it
That's
for
it.
me. Yeah.
That's it. All right. So this ends this episode of the Next Tape podcast. And Next Tape podcast is available on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called solo.to/next tape podcast. Tanyka, where else are we at?
We are on Facebook and Instagram and Next Take Cast and Twitter and TikTok at Next Take Pod.
Okay. We also have a email. Contact us at mikeltanika@gmail.com. That is mikeltanika@gmail.com. So yeah, we talked about space. We talked about
Salmonella and Geckos.
Salmonella, geckos. We also talk about, credit scores
Well, the
slash
Bill of
rent.
Rights with respect
Yeah,
to renters.
renters. Yep. And yeah, it was a little bit of an educational episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything you want to say, Tanika, before we just scoot?
No, I guess that is it. That's all I've got.
All right. So I'm Mikel, and
And I'm Tanyka.
we're out until next week. Peace, guys.
Bye.